I mean, you're ahead of this technological movement in that your software can create these voice clones in record time. You can create voice clones quickly.
Let's rock.
Yes, very quickly. For the smartphone application, when the user record is 160 sentences, 35 seconds after, his model is ready to reproduce his voice.
Welcome to Uprising. Each episode looks inside what it takes to lead the most dynamic and successful cultural movements. Some of them in the business world, some in the social realm, some in politics, and some in between, to see why people start uprisings. What gives those initiatives momentum and keeps them going? And most important, what lessons can you learn from these movements and how to apply them to your business and even personal life? Let's explore the secret to sparking movements that move people into action.
Passionate ideas.
Controversial ideas.
Uprising ideas.
The power is now in the hands of anyone.
To start a cultural movement.
Today's Uprising Pod is brought to you by warbyparker.com. Get a free 5-day home try-on at www.warbyparkertrial.com/uprising. 5 pairs, 5 days, 100% free.
Today, we look at the artificial intelligence movement, something that has some of the doyens of Silicon Valley proclaiming with great fear in their voice, beware. Some anticipate an extraordinary future, and some, like Elon Musk, have warned us about the approaching apocalypse. Donald Trump fights for coal jobs, while Democrats explain that the great threat to jobs in America is artificial intelligence and automation. In a recent article in the New York Times, it was announced that a large percentage of investment jobs on Wall Street have already started falling away to AI. In the 2014 film Ex Machina, a billionaire invites a young programmer to spend a week in his remote estate to participate in a test to determine if the artificially intelligent female robot he created can pass as a human. At first, he seems to see nothing more than just a docile machine. Eventually, we learn the robot understands the depths of human nature and possesses all human emotion. This is the gray zone. This is where technology meets human beings. This is where Siri evolves. This is the rise of the robot movement, or the AI movement, that forces us to ask what it means to be human and how technology plays a role in our lives. But more importantly, should these robots be assistants that help us with menial tasks, or should they be smarter than us, able to do everything we can and more? Here to help us answer these questions and explore this technological movement is Candy Voice's creator Jean-Luc Crebouw, direct from Paris, where he's speaking to us in the sweltering heat of Paris. So Jean-Luc, welcome to our show today.
Welcome. Thank you to invite me to your show.
So maybe a starting point is to understand what Candy Voice is and what Candy Voice can do.
Candy Voice is a company born in 2 years ago. We are specialized in voice processing, and we sell 8 different software in voice processing. For example, all the referee use our noise filter, for example. But the subject today is voice conversion. More than 10 years, I work on voice processing, and I realized voice conversion software to reproduce the voice of anybody.
So in effect, what Candy Voice is doing is basically cloning your voice. And the results is that your voice can be cloned and used in technology, and it sounds, I mean, now I think Candy Voice sounds a little bit synthetic, but in the future, will you be able to tell the difference between a human voice and your voice on Candy Voice?
It's Little bit synthetic on our website, for example, we have a demonstration, but the source voice is synthetic also. In fact, our technology, because we need a little number of words to listen, to reproduce a voice, only a few sentences is needed, so we can't use technology which need, for example, 10,000 sentences to learn. That's why we use synthetic voice. Okay.
Understood. So, about how many sentences do you need to record on your phone?
You speak about phone. In fact, our technology is used by professional and individual. Professional, we need 260 sentences for a natural voice. And for an expressive voice, we use also 260 sentences. But for individual and for our application on smartphone, we use only 160 sentences. In fact, we couldn't use less sentences. Sometimes the sentences are not very good. The record is not very good, so we kept only a few good sentences.
Have you tried to clone the voice of Donald Trump?
No, not yet.
When you record voices, can you pick up dialects and moods and inflections in the voice?
Our technology is a real-time voice conversion. So, for example, you could hear me not with my voice in real time, but with another voice. That's why we can't reproduce the prosody in English and in French. In fact, when we use a TTS, a text-to-speech, synthesized from a text, we can reproduce half of the prosody.
How does your text-to-speech software work?
So we don't have a text-to-speech software. We have a voice conversion software, and we can customize any text-to-speech in the world. Do you see the difference?
I do see the difference. Yes.
So if we use a generic voice of text-to-speech, we can customize the voice and of the text-to-speech and have a million of voice with only one source voice.
I can envision the usage of voice cloning for people who are going to lose their voice. You know, patients, for example, that have throat cancer or other types of ailments that, you know, they lose their voice. Instead of having a voice that sounds like a computer or computer-generated voice, they could, in theory, or not just in theory, but in reality, they can keep their own voice. But do you see a risk for this application to be used, for example, for employees talking to their bosses or husbands and their wives? Do you see a risk for a conflict?
We could, but we will not give to anyone the possibility to do that. This particular using is for dubbing, for example.
For dubbing,
okay.
yeah.
Dubbing.
So, in other words, a film that was produced in France could easily be cloned into English.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Our purpose is to reproduce the voice of the user with his writing. So I write something, and anybody who has my own voice model could listen me with my writing.
Do you think that it will be possible in the near future, for you to hear your voice on a recording and not know the difference between whether it's you or it's a clone?
It's possible, yes.
And about how far in the future will that be?
Oh, but for example, our market is for robot, for example, we want to give to the robot a familiar voice. And but in this case, to have the best voice reproduction, we need the best voice recording. For example, with our smartphone application, if we have a good recording, we can have a good reproduction. The best way, for example, for people who will lose their voice, it's preferable to record their voice in a studio.
Mm-hmm. And that is the highest quality reproduction.
Yes.
And so when you started Candy Voice,
Yes.
what was your goal at the beginning? What started you on the pathway to cloning voices?
Oh, in fact, the goal started very, very, very early. When I was 4 years old, I have an accident. I thought that I am a hero and that I can stop a car running on the road very fast. I stopped the car. Okay, I was a hero. I even fly after. But the reality was more complicated and more difficult. And when I touched the ground, my tongue was outside my mouth, and my mouth was cut. Not completely, hopefully, but it took to me a lot of months to speak again. And I know what is two things. I know what is to lose our voice is very important, but also because I lose my voice, I try to understand how the voice works, and I found it. That's why I found Candy Voice to reproduce the voice. You think? I have 67 years, 4 years, 53 years ago. Now I can realize my dream.
So your personal experience of not being able to speak is sort of the catalyst that made you start thinking that this is an important thing to have. And as you started out, you were thinking primarily of helping people with health-related issues. Was that sort of this genesis, the start of this?
It was one of my purpose. Yes, yes.
And as a young child, did you also want to sound like Darth Vader? Or a famous singer like Edith Piaf, maybe, or something like that. You can
before he was born.
Yeah. Maybe you could be a famous karaoke singer. You borrow someone's voice.
No, in fact, I start to with voice transformation. I win a prize I win the gold
En français,
medal.
c'est quoi?
Le trophée pour le meilleur logiciel au Salon international des inventions de Genève.
C'est l'innovation. So the grand prize of the
Yes.
innovation competition in Geneva.
Yes.
In Switzerland. And how old were you?
It was in 2005.
That's
wonderful.
For you, the listeners of Scott Goodson's Uprising Pod, Warby Parker is offering a free 5-day home try-on to give you the opportunity to check out their glasses. To get your home try-on today, go to warbyparkertrial.com/uprising. Again, that's warbyparkertrial.com/uprising for your free 5-day home try-on.
I mean, we're living in a time when, if you have Google Home, or if you have Siri on your iPhone, or if you have the Amazon Echo, Alexa, as they call it, we're living in a time where the personal voice, robotic voice, is quite common. In fact, we probably don't think about it, but how, voices are very much a part of our life already. So Candy Voice at first sounds like, oh my goodness, this is scary. But on second thought, it's, well, hold on a second. We have already around us a lot of synthetic voices. I mean, back in the 1970s, my father bought a Nissan car. It was the first Japanese car he bought in the 1970s. It was called a Nissan Maxima. And one of the reasons why he loved the car was because it had a female voice that talked to him. And he would always talk about how much fun he had having a very positive female voice telling him to turn off the car and turn off the lights. And I think when I was driving it, the voice would say to me, "You better be careful, otherwise you'll be in trouble when your father gets home." So voices have been around for a long time. But I think the scary thing now, for me anyway, is what is the risk of hearing a voice on your phone that is someone who you know or respect, or maybe a public figure, telling you something, and you just don't know whether it's true or it's false.
The human has been neutralized. The human has been neutralized. The human has been neutralized.
Have you thought about that?
It's false or true. Yes, you know that it's false. Do you understand?
How will you know? How will you know
if somebody writes something to you and you listen his voice, you know that the original writer is a good person. If I call you with another voice, with a telephone, for example, sure, you will have some trouble.
So there are checks and balances at the moment to manage this process. So we know that it's not a computer talking, and we know that there's actually a credible human.
For me, our goal is to personalize any products with the voice of you want.
Okay. Why? Sorry. Go ahead.
Sometime when I work on voice conversion, I make a mistake. I thought it is me who is speaking, but it's not me. So that's why I told you that we can have a trouble, but we are preparing biometric voice recognition to recognize that our software is used.
Got it. Okay. So there's a way of verifying the voice to ensure that it's an authentic voice rather than a false voice.
Yes.
Okay. Understood. Why do you think there's a need for technology to talk to us?
Thanks to voice recognition, 5 years ago, voice recognition who gave speech to text was not very good. 15% of bad recognition. Now, thanks to neural network, voice recognitions gave you 5% error, close to a human. So now, thanks to the voice recognitions, we can find a lot of application, IoT, for example, robot, who can understand what you say, not only for voice recognition, but also for artificial intelligence. And because we can have a better recognition, we need better synthesis. And hopefully for us, competitors use text-to-speech, very good text-to-speech, but the same voice for anybody. With our technology, we can give to all this system a new voice, a different voice, a familiar voice, and we can have a more realistic experience with this system.
Do you find that there are clients today working with you on this? That are you actually working with companies and organizations to use this technology to improve their business?
We have some prospect and customer in entertainment, in dubbing, in robotics, Yes, for robot assistance, assist robot. The voice will be used to give to the robot a familiar voice. For example, an old man or old woman. To a old woman, we can give to a robot the voice of husband who is dead, for example.
Interesting.
And for some, I don't know in English, comment on dit, maladie d'Alzheimer. Alzheimer.
Oh, Alzheimer's disease. Who have a deteriorate? They have a deteriorating faculties, and therefore they can't speak, and so the voice can be used to.
The voice is very
communicate.
important for us because they recognize the voice, and assist robot can help this person to have a voice that they recognize.
So in 20 years from now, maybe forget about 20 years. By 2020, let's say, in 2020, you're sitting on a beautiful boat in the outside of Saint-Tropez, enjoying your life, and you're very successful. What will you have achieved in 4 years? Where will voice cloning be in 4 years' time?
I hope a lot of things. My goal, I want to start with a person who had lost their voice, but not only. For example, everybody lost their voice. Children lost their voice. All the children lost their voice. All people between 20 and 60 lost their voice. All the person lost their voice, and we want to give the possibility to everyone to have a memory of their voice. When I speak in a microphone and a father listen to me with the voice of his child, or where his voice has changed, he have a great emotion. We want to work for this, but because we can reproduce the voice in real time, I think that the future is karaoke. We can sing with the voice or the original voice, and I think it's the future.
What type of song do you like to sing in karaoke?
I'm not a singer.
Can you sing?
I try with Barry White. But the voice, the recording was not very good. But we recognize it. I forgot to tell you that when I create a voice conversions model, I can speak in every language. For example, if you go on our website, we give us a possibility to synthesize 8 voice in French only, but we forgot to say to people that it's only in French. So we saw that people write in English, and we can hear Julie speaking in French with
Immediate
English
translation.
yes, yeah. and voice conversion works also, even in another language.
Okay, so let's see if you can follow me. This is a Barry White song. Do you recognize it? Can you sing with me on this? My darling, I can't get enough of your love, babe. You know that song? It's an old Barry White song, a great karaoke song.
I could give you his voice if you want.
Can you do that? We'll do a follow-up interview, and then maybe if you could do cloning of Barry White with the song "Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe." That would be a good one. Why do you call it Candy Voice?
Oh, because it's very difficult to find a website name with voice. It's very difficult.
So you came up with Candy Voice. It's a great name.
Yes, I love it. Candy is for individual, voice is for professional. That's why I found this name.
That's why I called my company Strawberry Frog. It's the same reason. But I think if you lick Candy Voice, it's sweeter than if you lick Strawberry Frog. So, how does the movement, the idea of artificial intelligence, this movement that's growing around the world, how does Candy Voice fit into the artificial intelligence movement? How important is it in developing, artificial intelligence that's helpful and is the opposite of the scary image that artificial intelligence has?
With a familiar voice, it's more friendly to have a voice that you know instead of a generic voice. We are not in artificial intelligence, but we propose to artificial intelligence to give possibility to faire revivre an old voice.
So, Candy Voice, it is a cloning of voices, fascinating, scary, exciting. If I want to find out about it, if I'm listening to the show and I want to find out more about Candy Voice, where do I go? Do you have a website? Can I download an app? Where can I find out more?
Yes, our website, candyvoice.com, excuse me. We have a smartphone application for individual. Its name in Candy Voice Recorder, but is not completely finished. For French, perhaps today, normally next week, but for English, we have to wait 2 weeks. We start on the beginning of February, but we have had a lot of technical problem, and it was preferable for us to stop and to restart the new one, which is better. And with this application, we can record our voice. It took for us 50 to 45 minutes to record, and then a few seconds later, we can hear our voice on our website. And for professionals, they can contact us to work with us. We have to record their voice, and we offer to them SDK, for example, to integrate our technology in their robot, in their product.
Thank you so much, JC. This has been a fascinating discussion. Next time, I think I look forward to testing out Candy Voice so that I can sing in English, and maybe we can hear it come across with some famous French singer. What was his name? Johnny Hallyday, maybe? I can sing in English and we'll hear Johnny Holliday's voice.
It's possible, yes.
Or maybe you can sing in French and we can hear Katy Perry or something like that. So thank you so much for spending the time with us on the Uprising podcast. Really fascinating.
Yes, thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you for joining the Uprising Pod today. If you want to find out more about who was on, or if you want to learn more about how to create your own movement, please go to scottgoodsonsuprising.com. You can also download this Uprising program from iTunes and where other leading podcasts are curated. The Uprising Pod is produced by Nicola Keneally with special help from Melanie Boardman, Karin Drachenberg, Philippa Freeman, Brianna Campbell, Farshad Faroudi, Mark Bruzy, Mark Issam, James Politi, and Jonathan Weeks. My name is Scott Goodson, and you've been listening to the Uprising Pod, where we can learn about movements and uprisings that are shaping our world, in business, in society, and in between. For more on cultural movements and movement marketing, be sure to pick up a copy of the best-selling book Uprising, How to Build a Brand and Change the World by Sparking Cultural Movements, available on Amazon.com. The music for the Uprising Pod was created by Charles Duchateau. If you have a moment, please do give us a favorable review on iTunes so that our movement moves up the ranks of the iTunes podcast list. And if you have ideas for future shows, please let us know by going to scottgoodsonsuprising.com. Thank you, and speak to you soon.